I want to start off by saying that none of this information has been confirmed yet, although we already know that in most cases, as soon as they finish one game, they begin working on their next project, as it might take a few years to complete it. So it would be interesting to see if any of this information released so early will actually make it to the end result. As you may know by now, Game Freak and Nintendo tend to follow some pattern when they release their Pokemon games. Usually they come in pairs, and after that we get one game that enhances the previous two. So in Gen 6 we were introduced to Pokemon X and Y. Right away Poké fans started speculating that a third game would be released under the name Pokemon Z. And sure enough, in Gen 6 we were introduced to the legendary Pokemon Zygarde. Following the same pattern, since we got remakes of Gen 1 and 2, there is a possibility that we get a Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire remake, which I hope we do. Gen 3 was fun, so there's plenty of time before they release Gen 7. The information was leaked by a guy known as Gino, who has previously released information on other games. They weren't true all the time, but the guy seems to have some credibility, so my guess is that some of this information might actually make it to Gen 7. There was different points that he discussed, and I'm going to share with you the ones that I found more interesting, and give you my input. First, let's talk about their codenames. According to the leak, they are known as Pokemon Plus and Pokemon Minus, and these names might actually be definitive at the end. For this to make some sense, there has to be room for a third possible game, and if they are based on electrical charges, the only possible third outcome would be to have a Pokemon neutral. The pattern is there, but I have a feeling that they might get what we saw in Gen 5 and instead get two games, Pokemon Plus 2 and Pokemon Minus 2, but that's my wild guess. Moving on, we got some information about the region. According to the leak, it is going to be based on Southeast Asia, composed by a large peninsula and smaller islands. Looking at the map, we can see that it actually makes sense as the description matches the region. Most of the previous regions are based on actual places in our planet, so this statement may have some credibility. And it seems that they're going to be connected by bridges and tunnels with a stone slogan on one island. We also got some description on the new starters, and some artists out there have begun to draw whatever they understood from it. Here's Fatmon66's interpretation on the following statement. Quote, 3 new starters with no names. Water evolves into a water steel and is a squat, teardrop-shaped humanoid that has a jar filled with on its head. As it evolves, it grows taller and the jar bigger, until it needs another set of arms to hold it on its head. Fire evolves into Fire Fairy, and it's a tiny cute goat with the fire blowing out of its horns. Its horns and looks evolve more menacing until it has a curly ram-like horns and a motorcycle hot rod-like look. Grass evolves into a Grass Electric and starts with a leaf for a face, with a Novi root and as a body, and evolves until it grows into an electric producing palm tree, with each flower petal having a different face, whatever that means. I really like the fire type, I hope we do get it. Now let's talk about the villains. There's no name for them yet, but we do get some information on their motives, and seems that they are more religious now. They believe that the main character is a reincarnation of someone special, and that this event only happens every 100 years. They believe in an old system where trainers are given one egg and they raise only that Pokemon until they die, and do not agree on the new system where you can have multiple Pokemon. So they want to bring this tradition by imploring the new legendaries to make it happen. It seems that in order to achieve this, they need to sacrifice the incarnation. Well, that doesn't sound like an E-rated game, does it? But to be honest, I don't think this is the first time we hear a dark side to these games. I mean, come on. In Pokemon X and Y, Team Flare is trying to bring the apocalypse by using the ultimate weapon and kill everyone. Compare that to just sacrificing one guy. Again, it's up to you to form your own opinion. Now on the subject of legendaries, here's what the leak says about them. Quote, the main legendary for Pokemon Plus is a Shifu lion looking psychic ground type that has multiple faces. The Pokemon Minus legendary is a ghost fairy type that has 2 dashes for its eyes and is a hurricane-like appendages with many arms and hands. Not very descriptive, but you might get the idea. Plus we get to know what their types are going to be, assuming this turns out to be true, of course. We got some information on the gyms too, and it seems a little far-fetched, but who knows, anything is possible. It is stated that we're going to get gym leaders that actually use Pokemon of more than one type. For instance, they mention a vampire leader that uses both ghost and dark Pokemon. There's also a military-like leader who uses fire and steel Pokemon, and even a leader that you must defeat in a sky battle. Let me know what you think about that. The rumor also talks about a new variation of Pokemon other than shinies. We have been introduced to shadow Pokemon before, so I'm not surprised about this statement. It could be possible. And the last thing I want to talk about is how there might be a new thing called the mainland area where all the players can interact, almost like an MMO type of thing. You can trade, chat, battle, plus you would have access to a bank. Sounds like World of Warcraft to me. Poke fans have been fantasizing about this kind of feature for a long time, and I think it would be really cool, and I hope that in the future they do implement it.